Okay, so let's talk about some of the factors around pain. Now, we can describe pain in terms of the biochemistry or the bioelectrical properties of the tissue. And what's important to know is that when you have an injury, there is going to be an immediate release of oxidative chemicals to suppress bacterial infection. These oxidative chemicals give rise to inflammatory chemicals, which are there to tear down the damaged tissue. And the inflammatory cytokines act as the signaling molecules for stem cells. This was discovered at Sanford Burnham in La Jolla, California, very close to our office there. And Dr. Evan Snyder was the one that made that discovery. Really great guy. And so the important thing about this is that if you're in pain and you have a chronic injury, so let's say that you've got an injury, it hasn't been healing, what's happened with this? And I'll tell you the experience of a leader that I spoke with during the past week. They used X39 on a chronic injury, and they initially didn't get any results. The issue here is that if you don't get the inflammation under control, then the stem cells will die at the injury site, and you will not be able to heal properly. So for some people, applying X39 for managing the pain as one option works just great. For other people, though, with a chronic injury, this could have to do with age, diet, poor sleep, poor hydration, poor mineralization, could be a variety of factors. We're going to talk about how to get past all of these things. The important thing is here, though, is that for some people that are not healing from a chronic injury, you've got to get the inflammation under control so the stem cells can heal the injury. So this could be a variety of different things. You could use nutritional supplements to do this. You can use exercise. You can use the patches. You could apply an Eon patch to the point of pain. And this will get the inflammation under control, X39 on the back of the neck or below the belly button, and you've got great pain management. Of course, because we're talking about Icewave today, Icewave is wonderful, right? You could apply the Icewave patches on the bottom of the feet, help to get the pain and inflammation under control. Now X39 can do its job. So I just wanted to include this link because it shows the bioelectrical effects of pain. The biochemistry is extremely complicated, so I have simplified it pretty dramatically, but at least you have a little bit of an essence with it. But it's important to know, and the point of this is that the pain phenomena has two components to it. One is the biochemistry, one is the biophysics or bioelectrical properties, if you wish. And what that means is that we have options for how we treat pain. If we take the approach that we're going to balance out the biochemistry of the body and use bioenergetic devices, different types of healing therapies, bioenergy therapies, if we use them together with biochemistry, the results are going to be extraordinarily better. And we're going to talk about a number of options that you have here for all of these things. So let's get into that. Also, diagnosis is a really important thing. Over the years, we've been really blessed to work with a number of great researchers, and one of the tools that we've used is thermal imaging. And this is something I would definitely recommend for all women, let's say over the age of 40. I'd recommend that you get a thermal image maybe once a year or as your practitioner recommends, because thermal imaging can detect breast cancer years before it actually ever shows up. I've heard estimates of 5 or 6 years before it shows up. And thermal imaging is completely non-invasive, doesn't use any type of radiation, completely safe for the human body. Another benefit to thermal imaging is that it gives you a data point. So the way that we've used it in our studies is to take a thermal image and then also to do a blood or urine test to look at inflammation. So in other words, by doing the blood or urine test, we can determine which inflammatory markers are elevated, and then the thermal image tells us where the inflammation is. So this is very valuable data. Of course, if we had an image like this, it would be much easier to patch. But in this particular case, we could simply apply, let's say, a white patch on the back of the neck and a tan patch at the base of the spine, and we would be able to see a reduction in pain and inflammation along the spine very, very quickly. And of course, the reason why this shows up is that thermal imaging, just like it sounds, relies on body heat, and body heat is infrared light. So we have infrared light, a form of energy, electromagnetic energy coming off of our body. And we can see that there is a change in the electromagnetic energy with inflammation. So we see the connection between the chemistry and the physics. Okay. Now, I want to do a shout out to my buddy, Dr. Norm Shealy. We are so unbelievably grateful to have had the acquaintance of Dr. Shealy over the years and have him do studies for LifeWave. And I can't say enough great things about him and the contributions that Dr. Shealy has made to the energy medicine community and the alternative healthcare community. He is a true hero and champion. And one of the things that Dr. Shealy spent many years on was TENS therapy, different types of TENS therapy where people could get drug-free pain relief. And of course, this is showing that we can use an energy device to relieve pain. And for some people, this works great. For other people, they don't respond to it. But this is to say that there's alternatives to pharmaceutical drugs where we're using electrical energy to manage the pain. So that's the important concept here. Now, if we can manage pain with electricity, what about electromagnetism? So you may remember from physics, when we have a flow of electrical energy, let's say through a wire, we are going to get electromagnetic fields at right angles off of that conductor. And this is the basis for forming electromagnetic fields. And of course, that's how we can have power generation today, thanks to Nikola Tesla. And we can have electric motors, alternators, and other devices. In this particular case, here is a form of pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, which involves a ring or a coil placed around an injury site. And you can see we have a giant set of electronics there. So I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't want to walk around with this giant ring on your shoulder. And also, this is time-consuming and expensive. But I would say magnetic field therapy can have its value. If I was going to be critical about this, because we've done our own research, I would say many of the magnetic field therapy devices that are on the market, the field intensity is too strong. And my personal preference, based on many, many years of research here, is that you want to use weaker electromagnetic fields. And this has been shown with a number of devices that are already on the market to improve microcirculation, have pain relief, and promote healing, but these devices are expensive. Now, of course, I also want to show that red light therapy, which is infrared therapy, of course, has been used for pain relief. And here's a device where it's 20 minutes a day, and you can see the claims they're making is for treating a variety of different types of aches and pains, inflammation, and even faster healing. And this is all fine, but many of us are busy, and we don't want to take this amount of time out of our day to deal with pain. It'd be a little bit of a headache. So, what kind of options do we have? Well, Icewave, of course, the benefit is that we're going to stimulate the skin with very low levels of light, and we get the benefits of light therapy, but the convenience of using a Band-Aid. Just simply apply the patches and go. Now, when in doubt, if you're just getting started, by far the easiest and most effective things to do would be to apply the Icewave patches on the bottom of the feet for pain relief. In acupuncture, this is a point called kidney 1. You put the white patch on the bottom of the right foot and the tan patch on the bottom of the left foot. That were the bottom of my foot, that would be about where it goes. It's called the kidney 1 acupuncture point. And this is very effective at relieving pain, even throughout the entire body. So as a protocol, you could place X39 on the back of the neck and then the Icewave patches on the bottom of the feet. I've met medical doctors where that is their go-to. They're very busy. They want to help their patients, and they just have the patches on the bottom of the feet, and then they just go from there. And we could actually spend quite a bit of time talking about all of the benefits of putting the patches on the bottom of the feet, including longevity. Now, what about if you wanted to try something a little bit more specialized? I'll tell you something that happened an hour ago. My son came to me, he's 25, and he was exercising yesterday, and he felt that he kind of tore a muscle in his abdomen. Something was a little bit off, and he was in pain. So I said, great, let me show you the clock protocol. So we put a tan patch on the point of pain. And when you're working with somebody, it's really as simple as saying, okay, what's your level of pain? Let's say you're on a scale of 0 to 10. Where's your pain level at? You want to substantiate this first. Then you have the person point to the pain and you put a tan patch there. And then you're going to go 3 inches, let's say 75 millimeters, from that tan patch and apply a white patch to the 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock position if you're looking at a clock. You don't have to wait very long, 5 seconds if you wish. And then you ask the person, okay, what's the pain level at? So in the case of my son, I said, okay, if the pain started at a 10, what is it now? And he said, okay, I think it's dropped down to a 6. That feels much, much better. I said, okay, great. Then we moved it to the 6 o'clock position. And I told him to move around. It was 5 seconds later. And he said, okay, I think it's about the same. Maybe better, but I think it's about the same. Then we moved it to the 9 o'clock position. And he said, oh, okay, this has dropped again. It's at a 4. And he wanted to leave it there. And I said, okay, fine. So in a matter of 30 seconds, we took the pain down from a 10 to a 4. Probably could have got it down lower, but he was already happy with that, and he wanted to leave the patches there, and that was fine with me. So the clock method is incredibly powerful when it comes to pain relief. Now, let's say that you have a circumstance where someone has pain throughout the entire body and they've had it for a long time. What do you do? Well, again, this is relatively easy. You could apply a X39 to the back of the neck. You apply one set of Icewave on the bottom of the feet on that same point, and then you're going to apply another set of Icewave patches on the upper torso. Now, you have a number of options here. I would suggest that you apply them here up on the shoulders. And we generally find that this location works very well with the location under the feet. So you'd have two sets of Icewave patches on. And you'll find that after, some people will respond immediately within a minute. You'll see their pain will drop 70%. Other people might take a little bit longer, might take 20 minutes. But it's a very easy protocol, and you don't have to be moving things around. So that would be if you had pain throughout the entire body. Let's say that you had someone which just had localized pain in the lower back. Well, you could simply do what we call bracket the pain, which would be applying a white patch on the right side of the pain and a tan patch on the left side. And that protocol we found over the years works extremely well. So you have a number of tools there with Icewave, a number of protocols that are very, very simple and extremely effective. And we've performed, I think it's 18 clinical studies on Icewave, and we've repeatedly shown that it is just a phenomenal product for managing pain. Okay, let's move on and take a look at some other things now. So let's say that you're using Icewave, you're getting good results, and you want to look at some other things. What else can you do to improve the quality of your life and make sure that this pain that you've had for many years doesn't come back? And of course, we're just talking about chronic pain now, not acute pain. Well, if pain is a bioelectrical phenomena as well as if it's a bioelectrical phenomenon as well as biochemical, what that must mean is that it has something to do with an imbalance of electrolytes, potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium. So what we would expect to find is that if this is true, there should be a link between electrolytes and pain management, and in fact, there is. This is the great news. So I want you to think about this for a moment. There are studies that we can find that show a link between pain management and potassium. This is not a bad article because it gives an overview of some of the benefits of potassium supplementation. You could get, hypothetically, enough potassium in your diet, but in modern diets, we're not getting enough. So I'd recommend you look at 500 milligrams or even 1,000 milligrams per day to supplement with potassium. You would take this as a potassium citrate powder. And there are enormous benefits to taking potassium. First of all, many of you probably drink alkaline water. That's fine. But what was found at Oxford is that it's actually potassium that regulates the alkalinity of the cell and maintains homeostasis between acid and alkalinity. So by taking potassium, we're alkalizing the body. Here we go. Potassium, in a study in 2008, shows a strong anti-pain effect. When was the last time you went to your doctor and said, "Doctor, I'm in pain," and the doctor said, "Well, great, I have a solution. I want you to eat avocados and bananas, and your pain is going to be just fine," right? Most, and I am not poking fun at doctors. I have nothing but admiration for doctors because they provide an extraordinarily valuable service. It's just that we know medical doctors, most of them, don't get the training in nutrition that we'd really want them to have. There are many doctors I've met that are an exception to this. The point is here is that there are alternatives, and something as simple and inexpensive as potassium has been shown to have a strong anti-pain effect. So yes, you can modify your diet, take sunflower seeds, avocados, bananas, those apricots, these things that are high in potassium, but it's certainly very convenient. I wouldn't recommend 6,000 milligrams a day, by the way. That's really high. On supplements, again, 500 to 1,000 milligrams. Another benefit is that potassium assists with the making the arteries more flexible. And as a result, potassium can reduce high blood pressure. And of course, this is really safe, really effective, and not going to be any toxic side effects like pharmaceutical drugs. So potassium is a way that you can help regulate your high blood pressure. One thing that I'll mention as a side note, since it's not here, and I did this research work 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago, just a little bit less, about 38 years ago, is I found that when you increase the amount of potassium in the cell, cancer cells die. I did this work with neuroblastomas, a TBJ neuroblastoma and a C1300. And the difference between the two is one is immunogenic and the other is non-immunogenic. But in any case, that doesn't matter. What matters is that because potassium is regulating the alkalinity of the cell, as you increase the amount of potassium in the body, you can reduce the proliferation of cancer cells or even kill cancer cells. But that's a separate story. So enormous benefits to potassium. Now, Jeff, I talked a little bit earlier. I made a promise that I was going to show people some of the things they could do, specifically men, on ways to improve sexual performance and get pain relief at the same time. And one of those things is potassium. This is a 3-part solution, okay? So for men that would like to improve their sexual performance and improve their health, reduce their risk of heart disease, reduce their risk of cancer, we're going to cover that now. One of them, though, is potassium. And the reason why potassium improves sexual performance, and I don't think I need to be any more explicit than that. The reason why it improves sexual performance is that potassium recycles nitric oxide. So nitric oxide, that most of you have heard of, is a vasodilator. It is what expands and relaxes the arteries and improves blood flow. And when men have erectile dysfunction or reduced sexual performance, this is typically an issue with them making or utilizing nitric oxide. They may have had damages to the endothelial lining where nitric oxide is made. But if they have a deficiency of potassium, it compounds the problem. So what we're getting at here is there's a 3-part solution, and it goes further than that, but we're just going to cover this today as an aside. One is you want to elevate nitric oxide. The other is you want to keep the nitric oxide in circulation, and potassium will do that. Okay. Now, speaking of which, let's talk about nitric oxide. This is a Nobel Prize winning discovery. And think we could, again, talk for a long time about this. Louis Ignarro, who won the Nobel Prize for discovering nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, by the way, is a gas. So it's not something you can supplement with. It's something that is made in the human body. Traditionally, people have used arginine for making nitric oxide. And this is okay, but there's actually better ways to do it. If you have a diet rich in beets, beets are a source of nitrates, naturally occurring nitrites and nitrates, and they will elevate nitric oxide. They convert very, very efficiently in the body. And there's even some supplements that offer sodium nitrite, I believe, which converts over to nitric oxide. Another way to do it, though, is with the amino acid citrulline, and this is found in watermelon. Many people notice men eating watermelon, it would give them an erection. And this is because the citrulline that is in watermelon converts over to arginine in the body, but it bypasses the arginase in the gut. So it's the citrulline is not destroyed in the gut the way arginine is. So citrulline is actually a very effective way of elevating nitric oxide. So if you're a man, if you're a man or woman, you're interested in using nitric oxide for pain relief, let's say about 3 grams in water. This would be at powder. And it doesn't have any flavor, so it's completely neutral. And it would be a similar dose if you wanted to use this for improving sexual performance. That really goes for men and women, but of course we would normally think about this for men. But the good news here is that with nitric oxide, not only has it been shown to be effective for pain relief, but of course, because it elevates, because it's a vasodilator, it's going to improve circulation and improve the health of the heart. And nitric oxide also reduces the risk of heart attack and stroke. So I think it'd also be fair to say nitric oxide reduces blood pressure. So this is a wonderful way to help be part of managing pain and also getting a number of other benefits. So if you've been suffering with chronic pain, you're using tools like Icewave and X39, and you want to look at some ways of preventing that pain from coming back and really improving your health, this would be a very powerful way of doing that and getting some other benefits as well. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you something fun here. Here's the third component. Now, we talked about Jeff is peeking and looking ahead, probably like everybody else. So no harm done, Jeff. Okay, so you're going to take citrulline to elevate your nitric oxide. You're going to take your potassium to recirculate the nitric oxide, and both of them individually, we're going to help reduce and manage pain. What else would we want to do? Well, we'd want to use a PDE5 inhibitor because this will keep the nitric oxide more active. And of course, we know that synthetic PDE5 inhibitors are things like Viagra. And in fact, Viagra was originally invented as a heart medication, but then when men started getting erections, Pfizer changed the way that they wanted to market it, and Viagra was born. But there are many natural PDE5 inhibitors, some of them more effective than others. There's one called horny goatweed that many men have heard of in the natural products community, and that is all fine. But here's what I happened to find this patent quite by accident when doing some research on an unrelated subject. I was looking for something that would actually improve CGMP levels because this is related to an anti-aging effect in the body. And I happened to come across this patent. So this would be mangosteen peel extract. This would be one of them. And it is relatively easy to get. Here in the United States, I found this on the internet. I found it being sold on Amazon, which I was quite surprised at. because it's not something that is typically available over the counter. But mangosteen peel extract, it's a powder. You just take a small amount, and you could take this at bedtime with your citrulline and your potassium. This will act as a PDE5 inhibitor and will make the nitric oxide more effective. And of course, this is also going to improve energy production in the body, and as a result can contribute to pain relief. But here, very expressly, it's being used for improving sexual performance in men. Okay, now I have fulfilled my promise. Now I want to talk about another one because people's diets are so poor today because of demineralization of the soil. And I'll try to get through some of these last things quickly so we leave room for questions. But do not underestimate the power of copper. Back in the 1950s, the recommended daily allowance of copper was 3 milligrams. Today, it's less than a third of that. And if you look online, you'll see that doctors will say there is no connection between copper and pain relief. And this is simply untrue, because there are plenty of studies that show what happens when we get a copper deficiency. This article is going to lay them out, but just to highlight the first one, fatigue and weakness. That is a known symptom of a copper deficiency. Well, what have we been talking about is that pain relief results from poor energy flow. And if someone is fatigued, they've got poor energy flow. So I would say this is a pretty strong clue that copper contributes to pain relief. It even gets more obvious than that. Copper is part of cytochrome C oxidase. It's a copper-containing enzyme, and we know that this enzyme is absolutely necessary for the production of energy in the cell. So if you don't have cytochrome C oxidase, you're out of luck. So when we have copper deficiencies, it goes without saying, we're going to have a reduced capacity to make energy in the cell. If we have a reduced capacity to make energy in the cell, we're going to have inflammation and we're going to have pain. So very strong connection here between copper and pain relief. And it's cheap, 2.5 milligrams a day, very inexpensive. Here's another, I thought I'd show you a clinical study here. This is extraordinary because this shows that copper deficiency is linked to permanent neurological damage. And I don't know about you, but when I think of neurological damage, I think of the nerves and I think of pain. So it seems ludicrous to me that in the literature, there would be studies saying there's no connection between copper and pain. It's just silly. Truth of the matter is that we can use very small amounts of copper to assist energy production in the body, protect us from viruses, protect us from bacterial infections, and help manage our pain. All right, very quickly now, some other tools that you may have. Let's say that you have a chronic injury and it's not healing because you have scar tissue. You've got to get rid of the scar tissue to heal. One enzyme to do that is called serrapeptase. Many of you may not have heard of it before, but the benefit of using serrapeptase is that it can break down this scar tissue and allow your body to heal. It also, by itself, has anti-inflammatory properties. I am not a medical doctor, should have said that on the front end. This is all for information and to take you to your healthcare practitioner. But things like serrapeptase, if you already have a heart condition, you're on blood thinners, talk to your doctor first. Okay, a few things here very quickly. Taurine. Taurine is an amino acid, and it's a very powerful anti-aging amino acid, and it has a host of benefits. But here, now we have a study showing that taurine induces significant analgesic effects. So we can use something as simple as the amino acid taurine to get pain relief, support pain relief, and to also promote anti-aging. Also produces a relaxation effect. Here's another study. This is incredible. Taurine is a therapeutic agent. We know that taurine is actually more effective than pharmaceutical drugs at reducing blood pressure. So again, you could be using taurine with the patches as part of an overall program to manage pain, and here you're going to be able to keep your blood sugar under control and your blood pressure under control. Magnesium, we've talked about this many times, so I'll just skip through it. Most people have a magnesium deficiency. Like potassium, magnesium is an electrolyte. So you absolutely want to include something like magnesium glycinate in your daily supplement package to help manage pain. And then last but not least, I want to mention this. DMSO has really been attacked by the FDA and the medical community over the years, probably because it's been found effective in treating a whole variety of different diseases like cancer and different viruses. And DMSO can be applied topically to areas of pain and acts as a very powerful anti-inflammatory. Now, I will say a caution on this is that DMSO is a blood thinner and you can't take too much of it. Another downside to DMSO, it leaves the breath smelling like garlic. So it has its downsides, but it is a tool that you're going to have in your arsenal for managing very severe inflammation and pain. So, Jeff, I probably went a little bit longer than I wanted to. We can go right to questions. But I think the important thing here is that when someone is suffering in pain, there are an enormous number of options that they can be using to manage the pain. People don't have to live with it. There's any number of different things that they can do, and preferably take a holistic approach and use our patches with proper diet, proper supplementation, exercise, sleep, hydration, and people will get amazing effects with it.